This question asks us, what is the greatest common divisor, or factor, between the numbers of 56, 28, and 42? What this question is asking us is, what numbers can you multiply together to give you 56? What can you multiply together to give you 28? And what can you multiply together to give you 42? What do they have in common? And what's the biggest number that they have in common? So that's what the question is asking us to do. So let's begin with the number 28. And we'll see what the factors are, or the divisors. Those are really synonyms, factors or divisors. So we know that 1 times 28 is 28. That's easy. And we know from our work with the 60-second club that 4 times 7 is 28 as well. Are there any other factors? Well, you can kind of see there's a blank space that I've left in there, so there should be something else. Well, what are the other factors? Let's think about the rules of divisibility that we discussed in class. A number is divisible, which means dividable. A number is divisible by 2 if it is even. So if it ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, you can divide that number by 2. 28 is an even number. It ends in 8. So we know that 2 times something is going to give us 28. Now, if we're not sure what that is, we can go ahead and divide. 28 divided by 2. 2 goes into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. Bring down an 8, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. That's even. So 14. 2 times 14 is also 28. So here we found out the factors, or the divisors, of one of our numbers, 28. Now let's go on to the next one. Let's use the next biggest number, 42. And once again, we know that 1 times 42 is 42. Also remembering our factor pairs from the 60-second club, which are those core multiplication facts using the numbers between 2 and 9. That 6 times 7 is also a factor pair. 6 times 7 equals 42. Now, once again, let's ask our question about, is this number divisible by 2? Is 42 divisible or dividable by 2? Well, it is, because it ends in an even number. 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8 are the even numbers. It ends in 2, so we know that 2 times something is going to give us 42. And let's go ahead and multiply that and see what it might be. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 2 once. So 21 is the factor pair, is the other number that goes with 2. 2 times 21 equals 42. Well, okay, what's the next number going to be? You can see that there's another blank space in here, which indicates that I've set this up. There needs to be another factor there. What might it be? Well, here's another rule of divisibility that's a really kind of a cool rule that we can use. A number is dividable, or divisible, by 3 if you add up the digits and they equal 3 or a multiple of 3. So what does that really mean? So we know it's 3 times something, right? So 4 plus 2, those are the digits in 42. We add them up together, equals 6. And 6 is a multiple of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, etc. So from that, we can see, look at 42 and say, oh yeah, 4 plus 2, that's 6. So that is a multiple of 3. We know it has to be divisible by 3. So let's go ahead and divide it then and see what the other factor is that goes with 3 to give us 42. So 42 divided by 3, it goes in 1 time into 4. With 1 left over, we can bring down to 2. And 3 times 4 is going to be 12. And that's the answer to the other number that you multiply times 3 to give you 42. So those are our factors so far for 28 and 42. Let's look at the last number in our collection of 3 numbers, 56. And 1 times 56, of course, is going to be 56. And 7 times 8, that's another one of our core multiplication facts that we learned earlier on this year, equals 56. And again, we can look at the divisibility rules. we can see that 56 ends in an even number, 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. So it is going to be divisible by 2. And we can go ahead and divide that and see what that number might be. And it's going to be 28. So 2 times 28 is going to be 56. And what else? So if we're looking at this, now if we add 5 and 6 together, that equals 11. And 11 is not divisible by 3. So this can't be divisible by 3, 6, or 9. All right, what else? It's not divisible by 5 because it doesn't end in 5 or 0. What about 4? Well, here are some rules that we can use. Here's some kind of magic keys that we can use to help us figure out if a number is divisible by 4. First of all, if the last 2 digits are divisible by 4, then the number is divisible by 4. Well, here we only have 2 digits. So this is helpful for us if we have a really super long number, and we can look just the last 2 digits, find out if those are divisible by 4, and then we can say, oh, the whole number is divisible by 4. But in this case, we only have 2 digits, and we may not know really if 56 is divisible by 4 without dividing it. So here's another key that we can use. If the number is even, you divide it by 2. And if the answer, when you divide it by 2, is still even, then that number is divisible by 4. So what does that mean exactly? Well, let's look up here. This number here, 28, was divisible by 4, right? So 28, when you divide it in half, divide it by 2, is 14. Now that number is even. So that means that it's going to be divisible by 4, and we can see that it is. What about for 42? Was that divisible by 4? Well, it wasn't. So let's see. 42 divided by 2 is 21, and 21 is an odd number. So the answer, when we divide it by 2, in this case, is odd. It's not even. So this number here, 42, is not going to be divisible by 4. 56, when you divide it by 2, the answer to that, the quotient to that, is 28. 28 is an even number. So that means that it is going to be divisible by 4. 56 is going to be divisible by 4. So let's see what the other factor is that pairs with 4 to give us 56. So 56 divided by 4. 4 goes into 5 one time. With 1 left over, bring down the 6. And 4 times 4 is 16. And so the last factor pair that we have for 56 is 14. 4 times 14 is 56. So now we have found the factors for each of these 3 numbers, 28, 42, and 56. And they have 1 in common. They have 2 in common. If you look at this over here, they all have 1. They all have 2. They don't all have 4 in common. They all have 7 in common. Each of these does have 7 in common, so that is another common factor, common divisor. But the largest number that they have in common is 14. Each of them has 14 as a factor, and that is the largest factor that they have in common. 28 is a common factor for 28 and 56, but not for 42. So the largest common factor, the greatest common factor, or the greatest common divisor of 56, 28, and 42 is 14. And that is the answer to this particular question. So feel free to watch this again if you wish to review some of the divisibility rules and to better understand this question. And when you do understand it, go ahead and try the practice problem that's grouped with this question on the homework quiz for this week.